Some days, it feels like the world is testing you. The rude driver who cuts you off, the coworker who takes credit for your work, the family member who knows exactly how to push your buttons. You tell yourself to stay calm, but before you know it, the anger builds. Your heart races, your face gets hot, and just like that, you react. Ever felt that way? It happens to the best of us. Even those who seem confident and in control struggle with hidden frustration. They don't want to be ruled by their emotions, but anger keeps slipping through the cracks, damaging relationships, clouding judgment, and creating regret. But here's the truth. Anger isn't the problem. Your reaction to it is. That's where Stoicism comes in, not as an abstract idea, but as a practical system for mastering emotions. In this video, I'll show you 12 powerful Stoic secrets that will help you stay calm no matter what happens. If you've ever felt controlled by anger, stay with me. By the end, you won't just understand how to master your emotions, you'll know how to own your mind once and for all. 1. Respond. Don't react. Control is an illusion for most people. They think they have power over their emotions and that they can keep their anger in check. But the truth is, they are ruled by it. A single moment, a careless word, a small inconvenience, suddenly, anger takes over. The pulse quickens, the face tenses, and the hands grip tight. Words are fired like bullets, sharp and irreversible. This happens more often than we admit. A bad driver, a delayed flight, a disrespectful remark. These things should be minor, yet they feel personal. The instinct is to react, to fight back, to regain a sense of control. But in reality, what happens? You let someone else dictate your emotions. You lose control, not regain it. Your anger doesn't change the situation, it only amplifies it. The person who cut you off keeps driving. The delay remains. The words said about you still exist. But now, instead of just an inconvenience, it's ruined your mood, your day, and maybe even your relationships. Stoicism teaches that you don't have control over what happens, only how you respond to it. That's where the real power lies. Not in reacting, but in choosing your response. Imagine this. You're standing in line at a coffee shop after a long, exhausting morning. You're looking forward to that first sip, something small but satisfying. The barista hands you the wrong order. Maybe they were distracted, maybe they misheard. But instead of fixing it right away, they dismiss you with a shrug. It's infuriating and unfair. You feel the heat rising in your chest. The easy choice? Snap. Demand better service. Show them they can't treat you that way. But pause. What do you gain by reacting? Will your anger change the situation, or will it only add fuel to it? You could spend the next hour replaying the frustration in your head, letting it ruin your mood. Or you could decide, right there, at that moment, that this is not worth your energy. You take the cup, you walk away. You refuse to give the situation more power than it deserves. That's what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. True power isn't about forcing the world to act the way you want. It's about choosing not to be disturbed by what you cannot change. You might think, but shouldn't I stand up for myself? Shouldn't I demand better? And the answer is, only if the outcome serves you. Not every battle is worth fighting. A misplaced coffee, a rude remark, an inconsiderate driver, these are not enemies. They are tests. Moments that reveal who truly controls your emotions. Real control is not being provoked. It is the ability to pause, to breathe, to respond with clarity instead of reacting with impulse. The man who masters this skill is unshaken, no matter what the world throws at him. And that is what we're here to master. Because when you learn how to respond, not react, you take back your power. You become untouchable. But there's something else that fuels anger more than we realize, our judgments. And that's where we go next. 2. Unleash your inner judge. People don't just get angry at what happens. They get angry at what they believe should have happened. You expect respect, but someone disrespects you. You expect fairness, but life hands you something else. You expect people to act a certain way, and when they don't, anger rises. But here's the truth. People will not always meet your expectations, and life is not obligated to be fair. Yet, the mind is quick to judge. They shouldn't have done that. This isn't how it's supposed to be. These thoughts create resentment, frustration, and an endless battle against reality. And who suffers? not the person who acted unfairly. You do. Imagine a man who believes people should always be polite. He walks into a store, holds the door open for someone, and they walk through without acknowledging him. Instantly, he feels a surge of irritation. How rude, he thinks. People have no manners anymore. His mood shifts. The small act of not receiving the gratitude he expected stays with him for hours. But what if he saw it differently? Maybe the person was lost in thought. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they simply didn't realize. If he had assumed neutral intent instead of assuming disrespect, he would have walked away unaffected. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always have the power to have no opinion about a thing and to not let it upset your mind." That's not indifference, it's wisdom. Instead of judging everything as good or bad, right or wrong, he chose to see things as they were, not as he wished them to be. Now picture this. A man spends years building his career. He works late at night, makes sacrifices, and does everything right. When a promotion opportunity comes, he's confident. He deserves it. But the company promotes someone else. In that moment, judgment takes over. This is unfair. I worked harder. I should have been chosen. Resentment follows, clouding his thinking. He withdraws from his work, distances himself from colleagues, and lets his frustration control him. But is the situation unfair, or is that just his interpretation of it? A different perspective could change everything. Maybe the other person had skills he didn't. Maybe leadership saw something in them that he could learn from. Maybe instead of wasting energy on anger, he could ask himself, what can I do to make sure I'm undeniable next time? The Stoic approach is not to be passive, but to see things clearly without emotional distortion. When you judge something, ask yourself, is this truly unfair, or is it just different from what I expected? Is my anger based on reality or on my personal interpretation? The world will never bend to your expectations. People will act as they do, not as you wish. But when you release judgment, you release anger. And in that space, you regain control. And when you do that, you unlock something even more powerful, the ability to detach from what doesn't serve you. And that's what comes next. 3. The art of non-attachment. Anger is often a reaction to losing something we were never meant to hold on to. Expectations, control, approval. When these things slip through our fingers, frustration rises. The mind clings, demanding that things go its way, but life refuses to cooperate, and so we suffer. This happens everywhere. A man invests years into a relationship, convinced it will last. One day it ends. He spirals into resentment, not just over the breakup, but over the time lost, the effort wasted, and the dreams that will never happen. Another man builds his career, believing his hard work guarantees success. But when he's passed over for a promotion, the feeling of injustice consumes him. The pattern is the same. Anger comes from attachment, a belief that life should unfold according to our desires, a refusal to accept reality as it is. But here's the truth. Clinging doesn't prevent loss, it only makes it more painful. Stoicism offers a different way. Non-attachment. Seneca warned against letting external events dictate our inner peace. He said, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." Holding on too tightly doesn't protect you. It sets you up for suffering the moment things change. And change is inevitable. Imagine a man who dedicates years to perfecting his craft. He dreams of recognition, validation, and success. But when he presents his work, the world doesn't respond the way he expected. His effort is overlooked. Someone less skilled gets the spotlight. His frustration deepens. It's not fair, he tells himself. He replays the disappointment in his mind, feeling it over and over again. But does his anger change the outcome? No. It only keeps him stuck in a reality that no longer exists. Now imagine if he let go. If he stopped expecting things to unfold on his terms. He would still do the work. Still strive for excellence. But without the chains of expectation weighing him down. Instead of clinging to how things should be, he would accept things as they are and adapt. And you, how often do you suffer because of what you refuse to release? How many days have been ruined by a lingering grudge, a disappointment you can't move past? How much energy have you wasted wishing things were different instead of focusing on what you can control? This is where true strength lies, not in forcing outcomes, but in embracing reality without resistance. The next time something doesn't go your way, Ask yourself, am I upset because of what happened or because I expected something different? When you detach from expectations, you detach from unnecessary pain. And when you master this, life becomes lighter. Because the truth is, peace isn't found in controlling the world. It's found in learning to flow with it. And that's what comes next. 4. Breathe your way to calm. Anger is fast. It strikes before logic has a chance to intervene. A sudden insult, a frustrating delay, an unfair decision. Within seconds, your body tenses, your pulse rises, and your mind locks onto the source of your frustration. Before you even think, you react. And just like that, anger wins. This is how most people live, at the mercy of their emotions, reacting instead of responding. They don't realize that every angry outburst follows the same pattern: a trigger, a bodily reaction, and an uncontrolled response. They assume anger is something they just feel, not something they can control. But that's not reality. Science has shown that emotions, including anger, are physiological responses, changes in breathing, heart rate, and muscle tension. And what few people realize is that controlling your breath means controlling your emotions. Think about it. What happens when you're furious? Your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Your chest tightens. Your body prepares for a fight. It's a biological reaction designed for survival, but most modern problems don't require survival instincts. They require clarity, patience, and control. Stoicism understood this long before modern neuroscience. The ancient warriors, philosophers, and emperors practiced controlled breathing to maintain calm under pressure. They knew that emotions were fleeting and that a single breath could determine whether they ruled their mind or let it rule them. Marcus Aurelius himself believed in the power of pausing before reacting, using breath to reset before making decisions. Now imagine yourself in a familiar situation. You're in a heated discussion at work. A colleague openly dismisses your idea, downplaying your expertise in front of others. Instantly, your body reacts. You feel your jaw tighten, your pulse quicken, and your hands clench. You want to respond, fast and sharp. But instead of speaking, you inhale deeply. 4 seconds in, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. The tension in your body shifts, your breathing slows, your mind clears. The anger that was about to explode now has space to dissolve. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond with precision, choosing your words and keeping control. Breathing is not a weakness, it is a tool. A weapon against impulsiveness, regret, and emotional outbursts. Every time you pause to breathe, you reclaim power over yourself. So the next time you feel anger rising, remember, your breath is a reset button. Use it, because real control doesn't come from overpowering others. It comes from mastering yourself. And when you master your breath, you unlock something even deeper: freedom from resentment. That's where we go next. 5. Forgive, even when it hurts. Resentment is a slow poison. It doesn't harm the person who wronged you, it corrodes you from the inside little by little. You think about the betrayal, the insult, the injustice. You replay the scene in your mind, finding new reasons to justify your anger. It becomes a loop, a never-ending story where you are the victim and they are the villain. But what does it change? The past stays the same. The person who hurt you moves on, unaware or unconcerned. Meanwhile, you remain trapped, carrying the weight of emotions that do nothing but drain your energy, your peace, and your focus. Yet most people resist forgiveness. They see it as surrender, as weakness, as letting someone off the hook. They believe that holding on to their anger is a form of justice. But in reality, it is a self-imposed punishment, a burden that makes life heavier than it needs to be. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He faced betrayals, disloyalty, and deceit every day as emperor. People lied to him, plotted against him, and tried to take advantage of his power. Yet, instead of obsessing over revenge, he wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." He refused to let others control his emotions. He remained above their actions, never letting their character dictate his own. Now, imagine a man who cannot let go. Years ago, a friend betrayed his trust, exposed his secrets, and humiliated him. He swore he would never forgive, and he never did. But what happened? The friend continued with his life, while the man stayed angry, bitter, and cold. His anger didn't protect him. It closed him off from new friendships, made him suspicious of others, and made him hard to be around. His resentment changed him more than the betrayal ever did. Now imagine another man in the same situation. Betrayed, humiliated, wronged. He felt the pain, the anger, but after some time he asked himself, what am I really gaining from this? He realized that holding on to the pain was keeping him stuck. So not for the other person, but for himself, he let it go. He didn't forget, but he refused to let that moment define his future. That's the difference. One remains a prisoner of the past, the other chooses freedom. And you, who has wronged you? What anger are you still carrying? What would happen if you chose right now to release it? Forgiveness isn't about weakness. It doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means choosing your own peace over your own anger. It means refusing to let someone else's actions have permanent power over you. It means breaking the cycle of suffering that you unconsciously keep alive. Because real strength isn't found in holding on, it's found in knowing when to let go. And once you release the weight of resentment, something remarkable happens. You begin to treat yourself with the same kindness you wish others had shown you. 6. Kindness begins within. Most people have no problem showing kindness to others. They forgive mistakes, offer encouragement, and give second chances. But when it comes to themselves, they are ruthless. They replay their failures, criticize their flaws, and hold themselves to impossible standards. This silent war within is exhausting. It keeps you in a constant state of dissatisfaction, always chasing an idea of perfection that doesn't exist. You think being hard on yourself will make you better, stronger, more disciplined. But in reality, it only makes you more fragile. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of frustration, disappointment, and self-judgment. What if, instead of tearing yourself down, you spoke to yourself with the same patience and understanding that you offer a close friend? Stoicism teaches that we should treat ourselves with the same fairness and logic that we use to judge the world. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that mastery starts with how you talk to yourself. Self-criticism without purpose is not strength, it is self-sabotage. The more you fight against yourself, the harder life becomes. Imagine a man who constantly doubts himself. No matter what he achieves, it's never enough. If he wins, he tells himself he could have done better. If he fails, he tells himself he is worthless. He expects perfection, but forgets that perfection is a lie. And so no matter how much he accomplishes, he never feels good enough. Then one day he overhears a conversation. A friend is struggling, feeling lost, and questioning his worth. Without hesitation, he reassures him, "You've come so far. One setback doesn't define you." The words come naturally, yet they are words he never tells himself. And in that moment he realizes, the person he is hardest on isn't a stranger. It's himself. What about you? How often do you speak to yourself with kindness? How often do you let yourself be human? Now imagine waking up tomorrow with a new mindset. Instead of instantly focusing on what's wrong, you acknowledge what you've done right. Instead of reliving past failures, you focus on what's next. Instead of criticizing yourself for things beyond your control, you accept them and move forward. This doesn't mean ignoring self-improvement. It means understanding that growth comes from self-respect, not self-hatred. A mind at war with itself is weak. A mind that understands itself is unshakable. A man stands in front of a mirror and sees only his flaws. The lines on his face, the weight he gained, the things he didn't achieve. He shakes his head, disappointed in himself. But he forgets something. That same face has endured pain, overcome struggles, and survived moments he thought would break him. That body has carried him through years of life, through days of exhaustion and nights of uncertainty. Yet instead of gratitude, he only gives it criticism. What if he changed that? What if, just for one day, he treated himself like he would treat a friend? Self-mastery begins with self-respect. If you want to be unshakable, start from within. And when you master that, you begin to release another major source of frustration: expectations. 7. Expectation detox. Expectations are silent contracts we make with the world, contracts the world never agreed to. You expect people to be kind, for your plans to unfold smoothly, and for life to reward your hard work. And when things don't go as planned, frustration takes over. This is why so many people are constantly on edge. They wake up expecting a peaceful morning, but traffic slows them down. They expect others to understand them, But miscommunication happens. They expect recognition, but get overlooked. Each unmet expectation adds another layer of resentment, creating a storm of unnecessary anger. But here's the truth. The world does not follow your script. People act according to their own interests. Circumstances shift beyond your control. Life unfolds in unpredictable ways. If you hinge your peace on everything going exactly as you imagined, you will always be at war with reality. The Stoics understood this well. They practiced amor fati, the love of fate. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people with whom fate brings you together." They didn't just tolerate uncertainty, they embraced it. They let go of the illusion that life owed them anything, and in doing so, they freed themselves from constant disappointment. Imagine a man who spent weeks preparing for a vacation. He planned every detail, where he would eat, what he would see, how everything would unfold perfectly. But when the trip finally came, nothing went according to plan. The hotel lost his reservation. The restaurant he wanted to visit was closed. It rained every day. He could have spent the entire trip upset, complaining, wishing things were different. But what would that have changed? Nothing. Instead, he adapted. He found a different hotel, tried a new restaurant, and embraced the rain. And in doing so, he discovered things he never would have if his original plans had worked out. Now think about your own life. How often do you let frustration consume you because something didn't go exactly as expected? How many moments have been ruined not because of what happened, but because of how much you resisted it? What if, instead of expecting things to unfold a certain way, you told yourself, "Let's see what happens"? A man walking into an important meeting expects everything to go smoothly. When things don't, he lets frustration cloud his thinking, making the situation worse. But if he had approached it differently, if he had walked in with flexibility instead of rigid expectations, he would have been able to adapt, to problem solve, to remain composed. This is expectation detox. Not lowering your standards, but loosening your grip on control. It means replacing "this must happen" with "I'll handle whatever happens." It means training yourself to respond to life, rather than resisting it. Because when you do, you don't just eliminate unnecessary anger, you gain something even more valuable. Peace. 8. Perfectly imperfect perfection is an illusion. Yet most people chase it relentlessly. They believe that if they can just get everything right, say the right words, make no mistakes, impress everyone, then life will finally feel under control. But in reality, the pursuit of perfection doesn't bring peace. It brings exhaustion. How often do you find yourself getting frustrated because things didn't go exactly as planned? Because someone let you down? Because you let yourself down? The mind believes that if you could just fix everything and smooth out every flaw, nothing would go wrong. But that's not how life works. Reality is messy. People are unpredictable. Even the best laid plans can fall apart. When you attach yourself to the idea that everything must be flawless, you set yourself up for frustration, disappointment, and anger. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus taught, freedom is the ability to let go of things outside your control. And one of the hardest things to let go of is the need for things to be perfect. True power comes not from controlling every detail, but from knowing how to adapt when things don't go as expected. Imagine someone who pours hours into preparing a big speech. They practice every word and visualize every moment. But when the time comes, they stumble over their words. A slide doesn't load properly. The audience doesn't react as expected. Instantly, frustration kicks in. They focus on the mistakes. They let self-criticism drown out everything else. But what if, instead, they accepted it? What if they allowed themselves to be human, to adapt, to continue with confidence despite the imperfection? Now, think about your own life. How often do you let the fear of imperfection hold you back? How often do you get angry at yourself or others for not meeting an unrealistic standard? Picture this. You're at a restaurant, looking forward to your favorite meal. You order, anticipating the exact flavors you love. But when the food arrives, it's slightly different. Maybe the seasoning is off, maybe it's not as hot as you wanted. You have two choices: complain, send it back, or let frustration take over. Or accept the moment as it is, enjoy what's in front of you, and move on with your night. One choice leads to unnecessary irritation. The other leads to peace. This is what the Stoics practiced: acceptance of imperfection, not as a failure, but as a natural part of life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You must build up your life action by action, and be content if each one achieves its goal as far as possible." He didn't demand perfection from the world or himself. He simply did his best and let go of the rest. What would happen if you did the same? What if the next time something didn't go as planned, you didn't react with frustration, but with adaptability? What if you stopped demanding perfection from yourself and others, and instead embraced progress? Master this, and suddenly life becomes lighter. You stop clinging to impossible standards. You stop reacting with anger when things aren't flawless. And in doing so, you unlock something far greater than perfection: peace. 9. Embrace the flow. The more you resist life, the more life resists you. You fight against delays, against change, against anything that doesn't fit your expectations. But resistance doesn't stop life from happening. It only makes you suffer more. How often do you get frustrated when plans don't go as expected? When traffic makes you late? When a deal falls through? The natural response is anger. You tell yourself, this shouldn't be happening. You push back against reality, believing that if you resist hard enough, things will change. But they don't. The traffic stays. The delay remains. The change happens anyway. And in the end, all you gain is unnecessary frustration. The Stoics understood this. Instead of trying to control everything, they learned to flow with life, rather than fight against it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." When things didn't go his way, he didn't waste energy on resistance. He adapted. He accepted reality and focused only on what he could control. Imagine a man who loves order. He thrives on routines, structured plans, and predictability. One morning, everything goes wrong. He spills coffee on his shirt. His car won't start. A meeting he prepared for is canceled at the last minute. He lets frustration consume him, snapping at those around him and complaining about how the universe seems to be working against him. But is it? Or is it simply life unfolding in its way? Now, imagine if instead of resisting, he adapted. He changed his shirt, found another way to work, and used the extra time to focus on something productive. His day still changed, but his mood didn't have to suffer because of it. How often do you let small disruptions steal your peace? What if, instead of reacting with resistance, you trained yourself to say, "All right, this is happening. What's next?" You wake up to a rainy morning when you planned a perfect day outside. You could get angry, let the weather ruin your mood, complain about something outside your control. Or you could accept it. Find a new way to enjoy the day. Change your perspective, rather than trying to change what's already done. Life is unpredictable. Things will shift, plans will fall apart, and people will change. The only constant is your ability to adapt. When you embrace the flow, frustration fades. You stop expecting the world to bend to your will and instead learn to work with what's in front of you. You become lighter, more flexible, and unshaken by circumstances. The man who learns to flow with life is the man who stays calm when others panic and who remains composed when things don't go his way. And when you master this, you develop something even stronger: resilience. 10. Find your inner resilience. Strength isn't about avoiding difficulties. It's about learning how to withstand them. Life will throw challenges your way. People will disappoint you. Situations will fall apart. Unexpected hardships will test your patience. And in those moments, most people break. They complain, blame, and let frustration consume them. But the strongest men, the ones who remain unshaken, don't avoid hardship. They face it, absorb it, and grow from it. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "How can this make me stronger?" The natural reaction to difficulty is resistance. Something goes wrong, and anger flares. A project fails, and doubt creeps in. A betrayal happens, and bitterness lingers. But this reaction doesn't change the situation. It only magnifies suffering. The Stoics believe that adversity is a forge. It either breaks you or shapes you. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Challenges are not obstacles. They are training. Every setback is an opportunity to sharpen your patience, refine your emotional control, and build resilience. Imagine a man who loses his job unexpectedly. He has two choices. He can collapse under frustration, blaming the company and dwelling on the unfairness of it all. Or he can take a deep breath, accept the reality, and ask, "What's my next move?" Instead of getting angry at the world, he focuses on adaptation. He refines his skills, broadens his network, and turns the loss into an opportunity. Now put yourself in the same situation. You've just faced a major disappointment. Maybe it's a failed business, a relationship that ended, or an unexpected setback. You feel the frustration rising, the urge to dwell on what went wrong. But what if, instead of resisting, you embraced it? What if you saw this moment as a lesson, a chance to grow stronger instead of weaker? When something goes wrong, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to improve? A man who trains his resilience is a man who cannot be broken. He understands that hardship isn't a punishment, it's a test. And the more he faces it, the stronger he becomes. You don't grow by avoiding challenges. You grow by enduring them, overcoming them, and emerging wiser. Every obstacle you conquer builds a foundation of strength that nothing can shake. Resilience is the ability to stand in the storm without losing yourself, to remain calm when others panic, to respond with wisdom instead of reaction. So the next time life tests you, don't resist. Adapt, turn adversity into fuel. Because the man who masters resilience masters himself. 11. Gratitude attitude. Anger and gratitude cannot exist at the same time. One fuels frustration, resentment, and a sense of lack. The other fosters resilience, perspective, and inner peace. Yet, most people spend more time focusing on what's missing rather than appreciating what they already have. You expect smooth traffic, but you get stuck in a jam. You expect people to treat you with respect, but someone is rude. You expect your hard work to be recognized, but it goes unnoticed. And with every unmet expectation, anger builds. You focus on what's wrong, and suddenly the whole day feels ruined. But what if, instead of seeing what's missing, you trained yourself to see what's still there? Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. Despite being emperor, despite constant political battles, betrayals, and hardships, he made it a habit to practice gratitude every morning. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to love." He knew that no matter what challenges the day would bring, gratitude was his anchor. It kept his mind focused, preventing frustration from taking over. Because the truth is, your life is shaped not by what happens to you, but by what you choose to focus on. Imagine a man who starts his day already irritated. His coffee is too hot. His phone battery is low. He sees the news and immediately feels frustrated about things beyond his control. He carries that negativity into every interaction, becoming impatient with coworkers, distant from his family, and short-tempered with strangers. Nothing is ever enough. Now, picture another man. He wakes up and before checking his phone, takes a deep breath. He acknowledges something, anything, to be grateful for. Maybe it's the simple fact that he woke up at all. Maybe it's his health, his ability to work, or just the warmth of his home. The day unfolds the same way for both men. Obstacles arise, things go wrong, but their reactions are different. The first sees only what's missing. The second, even in moments of challenge, remembers what he still has. And what about you? How often do you let minor frustrations overpower the good that exists in your life? How many moments have you let slip away in anger when instead you could have shifted your focus? Gratitude is not just a feel-good practice. It is a weapon against frustration, a shield against anger. When you train your mind to focus on abundance rather than lack, your entire experience of life shifts. The next time you feel anger creeping in, pause. Ask yourself, what do I still have? A breath, a lesson, a second chance, something to anchor yourself in the present rather than in frustration. Because when you master gratitude, you master the ability to stay calm in the middle of chaos. And that, above all, is the ultimate power. 12. Be your best friend. Most people know how to be there for others. They encourage their friends, support their loved ones, and show patience to strangers. But when it comes to themselves, they become their worst enemy. They criticize their mistakes, replay their failures, and demand perfection. This silent self-battle is exhausting. It keeps you stuck in frustration, making you feel like no matter what you do, you're never good enough. You convince yourself that being hard on yourself will make you stronger. But in reality, it only makes you more fragile. How often do you speak to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you care about? You tell yourself you should have done better. You punish yourself for things outside your control. You hold yourself to impossible standards while forgiving others for their flaws. But what if you change that? What if, instead of being your harshest critic, you become your own greatest ally? The Stoics understood that inner peace begins with how you treat yourself. Seneca wrote, "A man cannot be comfortable without his approval." If you are constantly at war with yourself, how can you ever be at peace? The strongest men are not those who attack themselves, but those who understand, support, and push themselves forward with wisdom, not self-destruction. Imagine a man who spends his life doubting himself. He achieves something great, but instead of feeling proud, he focuses on the flaws. He gets a promotion but thinks, "I don't deserve this." He gets praised for his work but dismisses it, thinking, "They're just being nice." No matter what happens, it's never enough. His inner voice is not a friend, it's an enemy. Then one day he watches how he talks to a struggling friend. He tells them, "You're doing your best. Look how far you've come. One mistake doesn't define you." And in that moment he realizes, why do I treat others with kindness but deny it to myself? Now imagine yourself in his position. How often do you dismiss your progress? How often do you let self-criticism overshadow your achievements? Picture waking up tomorrow and deciding to be your own best friend. Instead of immediately finding flaws, you recognize the effort you're putting in. Instead of replaying mistakes, you focus on lessons learned. Instead of punishing yourself for imperfection, you allow yourself to grow. This is not self-indulgence, it's self-mastery. A man who is at peace with himself is a man who cannot be shaken. He walks with confidence, not because he is perfect, but because he knows he is enough. The next time you feel the urge to criticize yourself, pause. Ask yourself, if my best friend were in my shoes, what would I tell them? Then say those words to yourself. Because in the end, the greatest strength comes from within. And if you want to build an unshakable life, it starts with having your own back. Anger is easy. It rises in an instant, takes control, and leaves destruction behind. But peace, real, unshakable peace, is a choice. It requires awareness, discipline, and daily practice. You now hold the 12 keys to mastering your emotions. You understand the power of responding instead of reacting. You recognize how expectations, judgment, and attachment create unnecessary suffering. You've learned that true strength comes not from fighting emotions, but from mastering them. Every day, life will test you. Someone will push your limits. A situation will go wrong. The old patterns of frustration and anger will try to take over. But now you have a choice. You are no longer a prisoner of your emotions. You are their master. So tomorrow, when something threatens your calm, pause, breathe. Apply the principles of Stoicism. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Is this within my control? How can I turn this challenge into an opportunity to grow? This is not a one-time lesson. It's a lifelong practice. The more you train your mind to detach from anger, the stronger you become. The more you focus on gratitude instead of frustration, the lighter your life feels. The more you accept imperfection, the more peace you gain. And now I ask you, what is one situation in your life where you've struggled with anger? How did you handle it? What would you do differently today? Share your story in the comments below, because every journey toward inner peace begins with a single step. And today, you've taken yours.